this time, I would like to thank you once again for being here, and I would like to introduce all of our panelists formally. My name is Jacqueline Musitwa, and I am the Executive Director of Transitional Trade, which is an organization that aims to promote trade, investment, and entrepreneurship in post-conflict countries, as well as transitional communities. I'm also a member of the City Bar Association, and the podium is actually fine for me, so sorry about that. At this time, I would like to go ahead and introduce Honorable Duale, who's the Ambassador Extraordinaire and the permanent representative for Somalia to the United Nations. Prior to his appointment, Dr. Duale worked for over 30 years at the WHO in Geneva. Prior to joining the WHO, he spent 3 years as a medical officer as well as a team leader in the northwestern state of Nigeria. From 1977 to 1983, he held the position of team leader and program coordinator in Nigeria as well. He also served as a WHO representative for the Republic of Tanzania in 1983 to 1994, and Eritrea from 1994 to 1999. From 1999 to 2005, he held the position of Public Health Consultant in Dar es Salaam. Dr. Duale's career in public health has also included numerous government assignments, including the Director General of Somalia's Ministry of Health from 1963 to 1968. And from 1973 to 1974, he served as the first Dean of the Faculty of Medicine and Surgery and the Vice Chancellor of the National University of Somalia in Mogadishu. From 1960 to 1962, Dr. Duale worked as a clinical physician at the DiMartino General Hospital in Mogadishu and a medical officer at Mogadishu's Department of Health. He was then elected a Member of Parliament, as well as a Minister of State of Foreign Affairs in 1969. And from 1970 to 1973, Dr. Duale spent time as a political detainee in the former presidential villa with other ministers at that time. He received his Doctor of Medicine degree at the Faculty of Medicine and Surgery at the University of Rome, and he also has a diploma in public health from the University of Edinburgh. Ambassador Sheen is currently an adjunct professor of international affairs at the George Washington Elliott School of International Affairs. He received his BA, Master's, as well as PhD from George Washington University. He has a certificate in African Studies from Northwestern University. He served for 37 years in the U.S. Foreign Service with assignments in embassies in Lebanon, Kenya, Tanzania, Mauritania, Cameroon, Sudan, and he's the former ambassador to Burkina Faso as well as Ethiopia. As I said, he's currently teaching at the Elliott School, and he's been there since 2001. He's on the board of several nonprofit organizations as well. He's an expert on the Horn of Africa, and he speaks around the world on that issue. He also is an expert on China-Africa relations, as well as terrorism, Islamic fundamentalism, conflict situations, and U.S. foreign policy. Ms. Mungwa, is from the AU mission to New York. Unfortunately, I do not have her bio at this time, so she will go ahead and introduce herself when she comes up. Hasim Keita is a research associate for the Africa Committee to Protect Journalists. He is a native of Mali and has also lived in Senegal. He's a graduate of the City College of New York, and he's currently a research associate at the Committee to Protect Journalists. Prior to that, he volunteered as a researcher for the World Federalist Movement, an NGO that works to build international democratic institutions. He developed a survey assessing the African Union's relation to civil society and helped coordinate workshops in West Africa for the UN's Responsibility to Protect doctrine. Keita has also monitored several internal reform consultancies at the UN, and he regularly advises and gives interviews on international press freedom with respects to Africa. Lastly, Ms. Iman is a former journalist in Mogadishu. She left when she was still in high school, or rather she began her career writing when she was still in high school. And it started with short stories to local papers in the mid-90s. She went on to become a professional print journalist at the height of Somalia's civil war. In December of 1999, she joined Horn Afrique radio and television station, which was Somalia's first independent radio and television station, and it was started by some Somalis that had left the country. As a frontline news reporter and producer, Iman reported on human rights violations and that were committed by warlords as well as armed gangs, and she focused on children, women, as well as refugees. In December of 2004, her extensive coverage of the deadly shootings of a school bus full of children helped to raise money for those victims. And she continued to report on hostile attacks. However, after the explosion of a bomb that killed Mr. Sharmake, she left the country and moved to Kenya, and she's been in New York since February of 2008. So thank you to all of our panelists. I will skip my hand. Starting from Ambassador Sheen, I will give our panelists about 5 minutes to give us an outlook from their perspective on what is going on in Somalia. I will then ask a few questions and open up questions to the audience.
I wanted to try to set the scene a bit from my optic anyway, in terms of